All right, what's up, my brothers from another mother? This is going to be a video that I would never be able to release on the channel publicly. I think YouTube and especially any women that would watch it would probably lose their mind. So I guess this is one of the benefits of allowing myself to speak more freely and openly to my patronage community. And again, I really appreciate the support that you guys provide. Make sure that you watch through the playlist. What I'm going to do now is going forward, I'm going to add all these videos to Patreon only playlist for the 10 plus bucks a month patrons. And I'd encourage you to go back and check out the other ones because there's some good stuff there that, again, it's really things that I can't talk about on the channel. So today's video is going to be about, I'm just going to slide it over so I got it in front of me. It's going to be about female ovulation, menstruation, whatever you want to call it. Because I think it's important that guys should track their girlfriends, wives, plates, ovulatory cycle. It doesn't matter if you're married, if you've got a girlfriend, if you're dating, or if you're spinning plates. I think in all categories, it's going to serve a useful purpose, and I'll explain why in a moment. On the starting side of the scale, like a plate spinner, I've got a friend that's probably spinning about 3 or 4 plates simultaneously at any given time. And what he does is he tracks the girls that he's dating, sleeping with more specifically, their ovulation cycle so that he has overlap when scheduling in his time. He's a single guy, no kids. He's got all the time in the world, so it's super easy for him. But one of the first things that I'll tell you in this video is you can download any, just call it period tracking app. Let's see if I can find period. Oh, there we go. Period tracking app. And there's a whole bunch of them, tons. And they're all free, okay? So you can see there's a whole bunch of them, all free apps. And all you got to do is basically download it, put it on your phone. You might want to drop it in a folder just so it's out of the way, out of sight on your homepage. But when your girl starts her period, you basically push a button and it tracks her ovulatory cycle. You want to make sure that you reset it because not all women are on a 28-day cycle. Some of them are a little bit shorter, some are a little longer. For those of you that are new, let me show you this diagram here real quick, what it looks like. So in case you missed sex ed, you've got, where are we starting? Over, I put my finger on the side. So day 1 versus all the way to day 28. Around day 14 is ovulation, and there's about 3 to 4 days in that span where they're most fertile. So that's all that is. Now, I'm going to talk more on the upside of the ovulatory cycle versus the downside, because there's things that you should know, and there's things that you should do differently depending on what side of the hill you're on, I suppose. All right, let's dive into it. So first things first, there's obviously the alpha side and the beta side of the ovulation cycle. So on the upside, women tend to prefer more masculine features during the follicular phase. Let me slide this back over here. So on the going up phase, that feature, so they're looking for masculine cues which signal higher levels of testosterone. They've done tests with women where they've had guys with high testosterone sweat in t-shirts and guys with lower tested testosterone sweat in t-shirts, and they can literally put these t-shirts up on a clothesline, and women that are on the up phase or on the ovulation phase can sniff out men by their sweat, so by pheromones, that have higher testosterone. So most guys don't know about this. They don't know about this, you know, why it matters, but it really does matter, and it adds an extra layer of superpower to men that are red pill aware, because it really does help unlock a few levels of achievement that most guys can't unlock. So that's the first thing. The second is this period on the upswing is where hypergamy doesn't really care the most. It's not necessarily looking for provisioning. Hypergamy at that time is looking more for, you know, fuck me now and I'll rationalize out later. They're just looking to bang the alpha. It's the reason why you get these girls or these young women. I mean, even 40-year-old women will go to resorts like Temptation in Cancun, or what's the one in Jamaica? Negril. Anyway, you know, where they're all banging each other. You know, they go down to these resorts and it's super easy or comfortable for them. I mean, they're out of country for starters, to meet, you know, Pedro from Italy or from Mexico or something like that, the handsome young guy that's a stud, and she's at the right phase of her ovulation cycle, on the upswing or at the top, and no troubles at all banging him 20-25 minutes after she meets him. But you know, a couple years later, she's looking for the good guy because she's a good girl and very soft spoken and all cool now. Every woman has a capacity on the upswing at the right stage of their cycle to get into the fuck me now and I'll rationalize it later. Now, the other thing that you got to know is it's actually pretty easy to pick up on cues when women are on the upswing or at the top of their cycle. They've done a lot of studies on this, and female ornamentation is always at its highest on the upswing or at the peak of the ovulatory cycle. So what does that mean? They're dressed to the nines. If you see her at the gym, the grocery store, the nightclub, the restaurant, wherever, and she's dressed to the nines and she's by herself or she's with her girlfriends, chances are she's looking for attention. She's looking to talk to some guys. She wants to solicit that attention. I know that we live in the Me Too world right now where it's a dangerous time and you got to be careful around how you operate in that landscape. I know there's some good blogs on Rollo Tomasi's Rational Male page now that you can read on that are very recent. But setting that aside, female ornamentation will always signal they're on the upswing and they're at their horniest. That's when they're looking for the alpha. That's when they're willing to do the one night stand sort of thing. So it's actually pretty easy to spot, right? I mean, if you're looking for it, you'll see it. Earrings, makeup, hair's done to the nines, clothing, the push-up bras, the high heels, the stockings, on and on and on. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't need to go down the entire list. Now, another interesting thing that I came across in studying up on this concept is if you're in a long-term relationship with a woman, so if you're married, you're living with them, you're dating them on a longer-term basis, whether you're cohabitating or not, women that are unhappy in that relationship with you are less likely to bang you at that time, and in fact more likely to nag you about stuff. So if you're tracking your girlfriend's wife, partner, whoever it is, period, and you start seeing them nagging you more on the upswing or at the top swing rather than banging you, that's a pretty good sign that they're not happy with the way things are in the relationship for them. So that's a pretty important cue to pick up on. I mean, most guys would not be aware of that, so use that to your advantage. On the up phase, okay, so if you're dating somebody and they're on the up phase or at the top of the phase, this works if you've been married for 10, 20 years. This works if you've been dating for a few months and you're still with her and you're starting to track her period. That's when you're going to become the alpha. That's when you're going to be more dominant when it comes to sexual cues. And, well, let's put it this way. On the upswing or at the top, that's when, if you've got a date night planned, you text your girl or you tell her on the phone, you say, look, tonight you're going to put on the little black dress that I like. I'm going to take you to the sushi place. If you've got kids, make sure the kids are at the in-laws house or whatever it is. If you don't, doesn't matter. And then we're going to do fill in the blank naughty things. That's when she's going to be open to it. And that's when you're going to get the best porn star sex from your wife, girlfriend, whoever. In fact, if you want to up it up, if you want to track it and you'll see it up on a notch, the best reported sex that most guys have is on the upswing. They pull the alpha card. She's willing and able. She's not nagging you at the time. She's into you, sort of thing. And you're about to go away somewhere for a business trip. That's when most guys report the insane porn star sex. Okay. All right. What else do I got to go over on the upswing? Okay. Women will cheat the most on the upswing. So as they're coming up here, if they're starting to do the, I think I'm going to go out with the girls tonight and we're going to go salsa dancing, and you open up your app and you see she's around here, that's a danger sign. Okay. That's a woman that's basically getting all done to the nines and she's marketing herself publicly, outwardly to the world, basically saying, hey, I'm all hot and ready and, good to go down here. Just give me your seed. That's one of the signals that you can watch out for. So again, there's many applications for this sort of knowledge by tracking your girlfriend's period. wife's period, whoever it is. Just understand that the cheating stuff doesn't usually happen on the downward swing when they're menstruating. None of those times. It more often than not is going to happen on the upswing or as they're ovulating. That's when they're more likely to be more indiscriminate. I think all women have the capacity to be indiscriminate at any given time. They try to take more credit than they deserve for that. I believe women cheat just as much as guys do. It's just they're better at hiding it, and they've got things to worry about like slut shaming, so they tend to hide it a bit better. All right, next point I wanted to go over. Around the time of ovulation, a female's preference will shift from avoiding neglect, a neglected parent, so to speak, to acquiring the best genes for her offspring. So she's not so concerned, is he going to stick around? Is he going to look after the kid? Does he have the financial resources? All she wants to know is the seed that's going to enter her body at that time, whether or not it's going to happen. But, we know on a balance of probabilities when human beings have sex, there's only one pregnancy for every 1 to 2,000 incidents of sexual intercourse. So on a balance of probabilities, they're not doing it to get laid, but that's female nature. That's female biology. So you have to understand it. On the upswing, on the top swing, her preference is not going to be for the beta, for the provider, for the nice guy, for the guy that shows up, that does everything for her, that fixes her shit. It's going to be for the big, tall dude, broad shoulders, thin waist, muscles, masculine features, high testosterone. That's what her preference is going to shift to. So understand that is super important. At some points during the cycle, women will prefer some feminized male features, which will signal a higher willingness of the male to invest in offspring. It's kind of what ties into the whole alpha fucks, beta bucks. It's hardwired biologically into the female mind. As much as they're going to try to not admit it, they're going to deny it. Realistically, we know through studies, through scientific research, through our own field, time. I mean, if you guys think about it, you're going to know this yourself. If you look back in your relationships, okay, here's a perfect example for me. It was about 5 or 6 years ago. I was in a longer term relationship with this fucking single mom, and we had a fight one morning over her kids. They were behaving like assholes, and she decided that she didn't want to deal with the matter and just bounced. And what she did was she went out that night with her girlfriend to some fucking karaoke bar and she spent the night with the dude. She banged him that night, woke up with him in the morning, and she was at the top of her ovulation cycle. And I know that because as I go back through, the cards in your memory, I remember her messaging me that she was horny and that she had just rubbed one out with her vibrator that morning. And she would only do that when she was at the top of the phase, at the top of the peak. So that's when women's testosterone levels go up higher. Even on their best day. So let's talk about the testosterone thing for a second. Even on the best day, women don't have anywhere close to the same amount of testosterone as men. This up phase here, the peak phase, that's when they're always at their horniest, especially right at the very top. Guys have something like 10 to 17 times more testosterone throughout the entire month, whereas women only have peak testosterone for only a few days during the course of the month when they're horniest. So that's when they're using their vibrator a lot. That's when they're going out with the girls' night out. If you're not in a good relationship with her, that's when she could be nagging the crap out of you because she's unhappy and she's not trying to, she's trying to avoid banging you basically. So it's an important feature to notice and just understand all those facts. All right, let's talk about the going down phase. So on the downside of the cycle, so the last 14 days roughly where she's no longer ovulating, the menstrual cycle is starting to happen, starting to wind down where they flush out their system and get rid of the egg that didn't take. That's where they're thinking more about beta bucks. That's where they're thinking about, I just want a nice guy. So it would be great if we could find this information out, but I would bet the farm that all those women on social media that, publicly declare to the world, I just want a nice guy. Where have all the nice guys gone? Why can't I find a nice guy? Or even if you're on a dating app and they say on the app, I just wish I had a nice guy. I guarantee at the time that they wrote all of those comments, they're on the downward side of the phase. Because all of those women, we know, all of those women at some point were capable of banging Pedro 25 minutes after they met him at the foam cannon party in Cancun or Ibiza or whatever. So just understand that that's what happens on the downward cycle. On the downward cycle, you're not going to do the, dirty text and say, you know, here's a picture of my dick or whatever, put on that little black dress, we're going out tonight, and then we're going to do it on the hood of the car or our favorite, you know, place, or on the hot tub or whatever it is. That stuff isn't going to work in your favor at that time. Again, this is why you should be tracking her ovulatory cycle. That's when you're going to do the Netflix and chill night. That's where she's going to grab the long blankie, put on the baggy clothing, not dress sexy, have her hair up in like a girl bun, and that's when you're going to be on the couch snuggling with her doing the Netflix and chill. So just understand the difference on the upswing, the downswing, why it's important to track her fertility and her ovulation cycle. If you want to, you know, if you're going out, so let me just go over some summary steps. So if you're going out with your buddies, look for women with lots of ornamentation. Look for signals of fertility. They're going to be dressed to the nines, lots of makeup, hair, earrings, makeup, everything will be done. They're pretty easy to spot. Stay away from the, you know, from the mother hens or anybody in the group. And there's usually often one of those around in the nightclubs and bars. I mean, they still come out even though they're not that interested in meeting guys or picking up or hooking up or anything like that. So look for signals of fertility, female ornamentation. We talked about alpha fucks and beta bucks being biologically hardwired. Right phase, right place, right time, and a guy who gave off just enough subconscious alpha cues will get the lay. Okay, I talked about that a little bit earlier. All women have the inner slut, and all that guy needs to do is be the right man to bring it out of them. Understanding a woman's cycle is it kind of puts a punctuation on that. So I don't think I need to spend too much more time on this video. Normally I would do these you know, 30 to 40 minutes, but this would get quite boring if I talked about the same topic for a while. So what I encourage you guys to do is just, you know, go to your, you know, if it's Google Play or the iOS store, download a period tracking app. If you have, you know, if you're spinning multiple plates, you could download, you know, multiple apps, I suppose, and track, you know, 2 or 3 different girls' periods. I mean, this guy that I mentioned earlier, he would literally schedule in all his girls or his plates on a weekly basis when they were at their horniest. So if you're around women that are like moms and daughters or sisters or BFFs, they tend to synchronize their ovulatory cycle. So you're always going to have them kind of on the upswing and downswing at the same sort of time. But, you know, these guys that are spinning plates 3 or 4 at a time, that have all the time in the world, super easy for them to track. Use a period tracking app. Use it if you're in a marriage. Use it if you're in a long-term relationship. Use it if you're only dating. You're going to find use in it. It's also going to give you early warning signs if things aren't going well in that relationship. I hope this video helps and shed some light. I'm going to, again, all of these premium tier videos I keep unlisted on the YouTube channel. I only share them on Patreon. So if you have questions or you want me to do a follow-up on something specific, you can put them in the comments below. Nobody sees these. It's between us and the community, or you can just post it in the Patreon page. Again, only people that are 10 plus Patreons will have access to this. So again, I want to thank you guys for supporting the creation of the work. It allows me to talk about deeper shit like this that I really couldn't get away with talking about on YouTube, because let's be honest, it's run by people that would just not let this conversation happen. Again, thanks for checking out. Have an amazing day. We'll talk to you guys later, and peace.